Good morning, everyone, and welcome in. We're so happy to have you streaming with us on this Tuesday, a very busy day in Washington. So let's take a look at a few of the things that are happening there. Our top headlines from D.C. A series of high-profile events are happening today. So just a few of them. To the left, we got a live camera at the White House. It's where President Trump is expected to welcome Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. They're expected to sign deals regarding weapon sales, artificial intelligence, and critical minerals as well. And this is the Crown Prince's first White House visit in 7 years. Now, to the right, we're on Capitol Hill. At the very top, Arizona Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva is outside with other members of Congress ahead of the vote on the Epstein Files Transparency Act. So that's a big one today. Now, at the bottom, we have a look at the House floor where that vote to force the Justice Department to release the Epstein files is expected to take place today. Now, before Grijalva took the mic outside, our very own Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene stood on those very same steps. She was with some of the victims of sexual abuse survivors of disgraced and now dead financier Jeffrey Epstein. So our reporter, Deidre Dukes, watched Representative Greene's press conference, and she's joining us now to talk a little bit about that, about what came from that, and about what we can expect from today's vote. So, Deidre, it's good to have you in with us.
Yeah,
good
to be with you this morning.
Hi.
And I tell you, we are finally here after months and months of pushing and pushback on the part of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. This really was, we do want to say, a bipartisan effort by lawmakers who wanted these Epstein files to be released and are working to do so. And we're upset, frankly, by what they believed they say the Trump administration was doing to see that didn't happen. So after months of fighting and pushing for this, Congresswoman Greene leading the way, it does look like we are seeing today on the House floor a vote there on whether or not the DOJ will be ordered to release these files. And of course, it is expected that the House will vote to do so. It would then go to the Senate for a vote. There was some question earlier as to if this would even make it out of the Senate. But after we heard from President Trump that he is saying, go ahead, yes, let's release these files. He's called this repeatedly the whole Epstein thing a hoax. It does look like there's a chance this could make it out of the Senate. And then if it does, we could see this would be signed, this bill, into law by President Trump. Now, we did hear from Congresswoman Greene and from some of those Epstein victims today. And here's what she had to say, Congresswoman Greene, about the whole situation and the likely outcome of today's vote on the House floor.
I want to speak goodness and love and hope into the women standing behind me and all of the other survivors whose names you don't even know, but stand with these women. They are survivors, and they are strong, and they are courageous, and they are daughters of God. They are not victims. These women have fought the most horrific fight that no woman should have to fight, and they did it by banding together and never giving up. And that's what we did by fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States, in order to make this vote happen today. I was called a traitor by a man that I fought for 6 years for. And I gave him my loyalty for free. I won my first election without his endorsement, beating 8 men in a primary. And I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the women standing behind me. And I want to tell you that this only became possible today because the American people, whom we serve as representatives here in Congress, demanded that this vote happen, and they put more pressure on every single elected politician in this city than has ever been put on them. And today you are going to see probably a unanimous vote in the House to release the Epstein files. But the fight The real fight will happen after that.
And so you heard it there, her remarks, both to reporters and the American public ahead of today's vote. And you heard her address directly the back and forth that she's had with the president following her remarks and her appearance on shows like The View. He has taken to social media, very upset about the stance that she's taken, and has in fact rescinded his endorsement of the Congresswoman. And of course, at least with all of this, there's speculation as she continues to fight for this and her stand on this issue as to whether or not she's possibly looking to seek higher office. So a lot, you know, surrounding this whole issue. I know we're looking at the Epstein controversy, but really there's a lot just, I would say, focused around Congresswoman Green herself.
Very much so. Yeah. And, you know, we've seen her several times coming out to, you know, at events like this, where she has sex abuse survivors around her. We've heard her speak on behalf of them multiple times. So has she said, you know, why this is an issue that she decided to, early on, strike out on her own, it seemed, on the Republican side to speak for them? I mean, what is it about this that she said that's got her talking?
Well, one thing about Congresswoman Green, we all know she very much speaks her mind. That's why, you know, we see she's so popular in her district. But she said that she's standing for what's right, and she believes, Republican or Democrat, you know, this bipartisan effort, she believes that these victims deserve to not only have their voices heard, but if there is anything in these files that has not been released, any, you know, high-powered individuals who have not been held accountable, who should be held accountable for their actions as it relates to this whole, you know, Epstein controversy, she believes that it should all come to light.
Yeah, it's certainly been interesting to see this play out, right? I don't know that many of us had this on our bingo card for 2025.
No, certainly not.
Hey, like what and the fallout, and like it's been a lot.
Yes,
it's
definitely,
been a lot.
definitely.
So, Deidre, thank you so much for filling us in on all of this.
Sure.
We appreciate you doing that. All right, our time is 11:07 now. We want to get you to DeKalb County, where it was a really busy night for police. So a series of shootings happened near Covington Highway. Our Kim Leffler is joining us now with more on what we know. And Kim, I know one of this happened at a gas station. So what else do we know about the shootings and the victims here?
Yeah, so we're at the Exxon Circle K gas station off of Covington Highway. This is where that shooting happened. A little after 7:30 last night, you can still see some bullet holes in the windows of the gas station here. And take a look at some video that we got from the scene here overnight. We know 19-year-old Tristan Mays died from a gunshot wound, according to police. DeKalb County police officers also found a second man shot in a neighborhood behind the gas station here on Cove Lane. Police say medics rushed that second victim to the hospital, but he's expected to be okay. Now, police say Mays, the man who died in this shooting, tried to rob the second victim at the gas station here, which led to both men shooting each other. Police say the second man ran to the neighborhood after those shots were fired, and they say no charges will be filed against the man who was robbed, the second victim in this incident. So certainly a very busy evening here. We do know, again, that 19-year-old man is dead, and police say he is the person who tried to rob the second victim, and then the gunshots rang out. Now, we are working to talk to some people coming to the gas station here, also working to get some surveillance video, and of course, we'll keep you updated throughout the day.
Yeah, busy, violent night, no doubt, in DeKalb County. Our Kim Leffler live for us with the latest on that. Kim, thank you so much. We appreciate that update. All right, now let's get you to a big story that's happening out of Cobb County. So a man who once campaigned to become the Cobb County sheriff is now wanted by several law enforcement departments across North Georgia. So let's fill you in on what's going on here. Former Cobb County sheriff candidate Tanny Hogan has been accused of swindling multiple alleged victims out of thousands of dollars. So one victim, Janelle Thompson, says that she gave Hogan $20,000 last year to help him buy property in Rockdale County as an investment. But according to that criminal warrant, she claims Hogan paid her back just $5,000 of the $20,000 that she originally gave him to buy that property. So another alleged victim, Jay Tenenbaum, says Hogan used his image as a member of law enforcement to gain her trust before failing to return $8,800 he claims to have paid him in cash for a car. So it's been over a year now. He says he still doesn't have a title for that car either. Records show the warrant in Tenenbaum's case was eventually recalled because attempts to serve it went nowhere. So the address provided to officers was apparently incorrect, so they weren't able to serve that warrant. Now, there are other alleged victims. We provided their claims in an article that's posted on our website, fox5atlanta.com. You can find it there. Hogan's name may be familiar, though, if you're in Cobb County and you're streaming with us today, and that's because he was on the ballot. He finished third in last year's GOP primary for sheriff. Thompson says he worked with Hogan at the Clayton County Sheriff's Office and believed that he was trustworthy. Okay, so what happens next? Now, Fox 5 spoke to him by phone last month. At the time, he said that he would like to give his side of the story, but he told us his lawyer wouldn't allow him to talk, so he wasn't able to do so. And attempts to reach him yesterday and today were not successful. So a very, very developing story out of Cobb County sharing with you there. And this is another big one that's happening out of Cobb County as well. So a woman says that she woke up to an explosion and flames all around her. Really scary situation for her. You can see kind of the aftermath of what happened there. Police tell us 41-year-old Paul Daub intentionally set the building on fire. And not only was she inside, but her dog was too. Her dog Ezzy was inside as well. Woman claims that she's since been identified as Amber Eccles. Luckily, she and the dog made it out of there. But yikes, look at that. So much. I mean, just totally destroyed that building there. She says everything's gone, including the only photo that she had with her father, who died last year. So this all happened at an outbuilding on Eccles' friend's property. It's on Hiram Lithia Springs Road in Powder Springs. Cobb County police say the suspect who is in that mugshot you saw just a moments ago, again, that's Paul Daub. They say he knew someone was inside when he set the fire. So he's since been charged with aggravated assault. All right, still ahead for you this morning. We're talking about something, it's called Rage travel booking, and it's exactly what it sounds like, but a lot of Americans are doing it right now, so we're going to take a look into why that is. That's next. Welcome back, everyone. We're glad to have you with us on this Tuesday. Okay, we have to talk about something really interesting. I'd never heard of this before. It's Rage booking, and we're talking about travel and what's behind this, why more and more Americans are deciding to do that. So joining us now, we have Lauren Gumport with Fay Travel Insurance to talk about the big picture here. So Lauren, good morning, and thank you so much for being on with us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Okay, so we have to dive into this. You know, travel has entered, I guess, what we can call the burnout economy. So what does that really mean, Lauren?
Yeah, so according to our latest data here at FAY, Americans are booking trips out of burnout, frustration, and emotional exhaustion. And this trend of rage booking or ragecations that you were mentioning, it refers to somebody rapidly and impulsively booking a trip in a fit of anger or frustration with the goal really of relieving stress and feeling better. So we have half of American travelers saying they currently feel burnt out. The 5 reasons are financial anxiety, the economy, politics, the news, hopefully not this news segment, of course, and their job.
Yeah.
And then nearly 1 in 3 say that taking a vacation is their best way to handle burnout, ranking that higher than meditation, exercise, or taking time off work. And I don't know about you, but I feel like impulsively booking a trip will make me feel better compared to a yoga class.
You were exactly right. So like it kind of makes sense, when you really look at what this means. It truly does. Another big takeaway from this I thought was so interesting, Lauren, is that it's the younger travelers that are doing this the most and feeling just kind of the most burnout. So why are Gen Z and millennials reporting higher levels of stress compared to like boomers?
Yeah, well, I mean, millennials are the most likely to rage book. And I would say, compare in terms of the study and the results, it says that 83% of those who booked a ragecation, it helped them feel better. The average traveler says it takes them about 4 days into a vacation to start feeling better from burnout. So these aren't just weekend trips. It looks like we're going for a minimum of 4 days, which sounds great to me. And in terms of why they're feeling that way, I would go back to those 5 themes: finances, the economy, politics, the news, and their job. So they're seeking a little bit of respite through vacation.
That's so interesting. And, looking at the numbers here, we're talking about 83% of people who did rage book ended up saying it made them feel better. So like maybe they're on to something if 83%, that's a huge number, which is interesting. So why do you think that travel has become such an emotional outlet for so many people?
Yeah, I think that travel provides a form of escapism because there are other reasons that these survey takers stated that they took a vacation or booked a vacation: breakup, losing or quitting a job, avoiding bad weather or seasonal sadness. But then also on the positive side, celebrating a personal achievement, or even booking a trip after they received an unexpected sum of money, such as a bonus or a refund. So again, I think people are using it as a way to escape either something a bit negative or to celebrate something a little bit positive. But I would say that when booking any vacation, even if you're in a fit of rage, obviously protect your trip. Things go wrong. We've seen the government shut down, what that did to flights. Make sure you have whole trip coverage and 24/7 support. That is my top advice.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was actually going to ask you, what are some safeguards that we can put in place if we're going to rage book? And I'm so glad you mentioned travel insurance. So that is something to look into. And I'm guessing that's also where you come into play here with Fade Travel Insurance, right?
Yeah, so Faye offers whole trip coverage along with that 24/7 support and companionship from real humans. But we also provide super speedy payments on approved claims and common travel hiccups straight to your phone's wallet. It's actually one of the reasons that Faye was just named a Time Best Invention of 2025. Bet you didn't expect me to say that about travel insurance today. That's our award-winning app. So I would say get to booking, even if it's rage booking, domestic or internationally, you must safeguard your travels.
Of course. So let's take a look ahead here, looking into 2026 at just what travelers are prioritizing. I'm going to read this. I thought this was super interesting, the kinds of trips that people want to take. So they're prioritizing connection. Budget-friendly trips are commonly searched for, nature-based escapes. So, I mean, what do you think? And does it maybe speak to the bigger picture on preferences that travelers have? Because, those are the trends. That's what people want to do. Those are the trips they want to take.
Yeah, I would say that those themes showcase that travelers are not prioritizing luxury trips in the next year. And again, that could be because of economic uncertainty, job uncertainty. I know that the top destinations in terms of what they're spending, the spend for holiday trips has decreased 40% compared to last year's average spend. So that's quite interesting. You're seeing more budget conscious travelers in the year ahead.
So for someone who's watching this right now and they're like, yeah, I could definitely get behind this. Maybe I've done it, but didn't know that there was a word for it. What would you say some things to keep in mind before they click confirm on that rage trip that they just booked?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So if you're rage booking, first of all, I already said it, make sure that you protect your trip with travel insurance. Obviously, I'm biased. I think it should be Faye. If you're rage booking in a moment of emotional uncertainty or anger or frustration, make sure that if you change your mind, you won't burn a hole in your pocket. So maybe a free cancellation, no prepayment type of hotel, or a flight that you are able to change. Maybe that means paying a little bit more for your.
That's going to send its feed to
Uh-oh. You froze up on us, Lauren. I'm going to give it just a second to see if, okay, we didn't catch the back part of what you, say that last part one more time because you were frozen on the screen.
Sure thing. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
I would say that if you're booking these trips and it's in a moment of emotional uncertainty, that you should probably go for refundable, no prepayment trip type.
Okay, so that's some important information for those rage bookers out there, or soon to be rage bookers as we get closer to the holidays. Folks may be wanting to hit confirm then. What would you say to someone who just assumes that they have travel coverage, travel insurance coverage on their credit card? Because I think some folks could be end up getting disappointed if they're solely counting on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's actually a common misconception when it comes to travel insurance. If you have a travel credit card, you might have some travel coverages on there, but they're fraught with a lot of limitations. The best thing that I can say to any traveler is go directly to a travel insurance provider for that holistic type of coverage, where your trip, as in your hotels, your flights, your luggage, and your health are all covered under the same policy.
Okay. So for someone watching right now and they're like, I need to learn a little bit more about this travel insurance, or maybe just want to look a little bit more into the research, because you guys killed it with this research that you did. Super interesting stuff that came out of that. So it was good to read. But where can they go for more info?
Yeah, so they can go to withfaye.com, WITHFAYE.com, to learn more and just to look at our coverage on our website, which we provide in plain English, unlike a lot of other travel insurance providers.
And of course, we certainly appreciate that. Lauren Gumfort with Faye Travel Insurance. Lauren, thank you so much for checking in with us here in Atlanta. We certainly appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, our time now is 11:22. We want to get you back out to Washington. We're going to take a live look at the White House, and that's where President Trump is welcoming Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Now, remember, this is his first visit since U.S. intelligence agencies say he likely gave the approval for Saudi agents to kill Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi in 2018. That's a story that you probably remember hearing about. It's been 7 years, though, and the president is embracing the Crown Prince, getting together with him once again at the White House. The two of them expected to unveil billions of dollars in deals. So this is a lot expected to come from their meeting today at the White House, including one to sell the Saudis F-35 fighter jets and huddle with aides to talk about the path ahead in the Middle East. So it looks like it's all the pomp and circumstance here for the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia there just outside of the White House. So they are likely going to end the day with an evening, a White House soiree, a fancy affair for them, organized by First Lady Melania Trump to honor the prince. So again, this is all happening today there at the White House. President Trump meeting with Saudi Crown Prince for the first time in 7 years. So we will be sure to follow all that comes from this. Actually, let's listen in and see what's. There you have it. You just saw the president enter the White House there with Saudi Arabian Prime Prince Mohammed bin Salman. I think you heard a flyover happening, so rolling out the red carpet for the Crown Prince on his first visit in 7 years to the White House. So a big story, a big happening in Washington that we are keeping a close eye on today. I want to get you to something else that is happening in Washington as well. So taking you back to Capitol Hill, Congress members have been hosting a news conference all morning. We've heard from several of them as they vote to release the Epstein files. That vote will be held later today. This is the Epstein Files Transparency Act that they are voting in. So let's listen in.
And so this is a very important moment for the country. And lastly, I'll say this. I'm often asked, what's next? This is directly from the survivors, and I've been talking to them pretty regularly, including one just 2 days ago. They have all asked us to look where they believe the truth is, and that is in the financial and bank records of the most powerful financial institutions in this country that have the information and where the money was transferred from those powerful men who paid and were involved in the trafficking of these girls. So if you are the president of a bank, if you are a leader of a financial organization, and you are hiding information as it relates to justice for these women, the Oversight Committee is coming after those documents. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those remarks. Next up, we have Representative Kelly Morrison. Please join me in welcoming her to the podium.
Good morning. I'm Kelly Morrison, Congresswoman from Minnesota's 3rd District. It's good to be here with all of you this morning on this incredibly important day. Thank you so much to the Sexual Violence Prevention Association for bringing us together. So much gratitude to Teresa for being here today. Your bravery, selflessness, and advocacy are truly remarkable. Your courage to speak out and stand up for others is the only reason we are in this position today, finally able to try and bring the justice and transparency that is far too long overdue. And thank you to the Sexual Violence Prevention Association for delivering this letter today, bringing nearly 50 organizations dedicated to ending child abuse, sexual violence, and human trafficking together to call on Congress to pass the Epstein Files Transparency Act and demand the release of the files. Because that is exactly what today is about. Standing up against child abuse, sexual violence, and human trafficking. Today is an opportunity for us to send an important message here in D.C., across the country, and across the world. Today is our opportunity to say, no matter who you are, no matter how rich you are, no matter how powerful you are not above the law. No amount of money, power, connections, or corruption can buy you a free pass to abuse children or sell human beings. For decades, the government and people in power have been complicit in covering up the horrific abuses of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Today, we will say no more. The time has come for the victims and survivors to get the justice and the transparency they are asking for and deserve. The time has come for the perpetrators to be held accountable. The time has come for the corrupt leaders who were complicit in facilitating this to be exposed. The time has come for the American people to get the transparency they have demanded. And we have to ask ourselves, if we don't get this right, if we don't release the files and bring justice to the victims and hold the perpetrators accountable, what message would that send? Today marks a new day. Today we say this will no longer stand. We are putting the rich and powerful on notice. We are saying you cannot and will not get away with exploitation and abuse. There is nothing more deeply American than the notion that everyone has equal rights under the law. And today, we are reasserting our rights as Americans. I met with survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell alongside members of the Democratic Women's Caucus earlier this fall. Their stories are harrowing. Their testimony is powerful. Their bravery is unmatched. We have seen the lengths the rich and powerful will go to cover up their crimes. But these women are putting everything on the line simply to ensure that we never allow this to happen to anyone else ever again. So today, every single member of the U.S. House of Representatives will go on record to say whether they will be complicit in a cover-up protecting pedophiles and the corrupt, rich, and powerful, or if they stand on the side of justice, truth, transparency, and the American people. It should not be lost, however, that the only reason we are having to take this vote is because the Trump administration is refusing to comply with a subpoena and release the files. The president and his administration are legally required to release.
You've been listening in to this news conference happening all morning on the steps of the Capitol there. So the House is in recess until noon today, and then they'll reconvene because there is a vote. Lawmakers will vote today on ordering the release of all files related to the case of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. So it's a story we're following very closely. We'll make sure we bring you the results of that vote when it happens today. All right, our time now, 11:31, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, it's that time of the year where you're seeing those packages delivered, but we're also starting to hear about porch pirates. They're out in full force. It's only going to get worse as we get closer to the holidays. So last year alone, more than 58 million packages were stolen from U.S. homes. 58 million. That is terrible. So this morning we have self-defense law expert Kirk Evans with U.S. Law Shield joining us now to talk a little bit about that and just things that you can and can't do if you spot a thief in the act. So Kirk, it's good to have you back with us. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having us on.
Of course. So let's dive into this. You know, what exactly do homeowners have? What are their legal rights, Kirk, when it comes to if they catch someone in the act of stealing a package from their porch?
All right. So the general law is that you are allowed to use force, but not deadly force, to stop a mere property crime. So force, think of pushing, shoving, grabbing, maybe even pepper spray, but not deadly force, which would be, think of a firearm. And that's if it's a mere property crime, someone taking something off of your porch, your doorstep, something like that. Now, if it escalates, so if that person has a weapon, they threaten you, or they attempt to enter your home or your apartment with force, or do something more and they threaten you with death or serious bodily injury, at that point, you could actually use your firearm or deadly force.
Okay, but put the gun away if you simply see someone taking a package off your porch. A very, very important designation here. You're mentioning the difference between those two acts from a thief or a home intruder, so I'm glad you did that. But I can imagine, you know, when you're in the moment and emotions are running high, there's a really clear legal line, Kirk, between observing, confronting, and intervening, right?
That is correct. So even if you decide to use force, it must be reasonable under the circumstances, right? So, you know, putting some teenager in the hospital over an $18 package, you know, might not be reasonable, might end up getting you charged with a crime or even sued civilly. Then the other issue is, of course, who are you confronting and what's the situation? Most of these folks are, you know, called porch pirates because they're really taking a crime of opportunity. They don't think they're going to run into anybody. They really don't want any trouble. But many of these folks operate in organized groups or organized gangs. And while you might find yourself confronting what you think is one person, that person might have friends and you might find yourself in trouble confronting that person. So it's a tough balancing act. You may very well want to just call the police and report it rather than confront someone where you don't have a full comprehension of the situation.
Yeah, you know, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I feel like in so many of the videos that you see, there is a whole pack of them, you know, in a car around the corner or around the at the next home. So that's a very important point that you bring up there. So, Kirk, so many homeowners have guns. That's the truth of it. So how should they think differently about self-defense versus property protection?
Sure. Again, if it's just a mere property crime, meaning personal property, that Amazon package on your doorstep, you're almost never going to have a legal justification in Georgia for using your firearm there. Now, if it escalates to what's called a forcible felony, so think of death, serious bodily injury, arson, something like that, or the person attempting to unlawfully enter your home with force, you then might be able to use deadly force to defend yourself in Georgia. But again, you're still probably going to have to convince a jury that that use of deadly force was reasonable. So you're going to have to be very, very careful there when you decide to use deadly force to defend yourself or your home.
You know, Kirk, beyond just the legal side here, it's part of, I'd say, a really concerning trend that we're seeing. So what does the rise in porch piracy suggest about property theft patterns this holiday season? What are you seeing there?
Well, so it's really, really tough, right? So the porch pirates know during the holiday season that package is probably less like, you know, any other time of the year. That could be toilet paper or laundry detergent. But this time of the year, it's very much more likely to be an Xbox or a phone or jewelry, right? So it's much more enticing for the criminals. And then the tough part for the homeowner is the timing on all these things. So if you're getting that toy for your kids or your grandkids, you know, that they just, quote, have to have, you may not have enough time to order or reorder that package, even if your product is insured or could be redelivered, you might not have enough time to reorder it to get it back in time for Christmas or the holidays.
Yeah, terrible any time of year, but this time of year, man, that can just put a damper on the holidays. It truly can, due to what's inside of all those packages. Okay, so what are some lawful steps that we can take to try to prevent package theft before it even happens, you know, so that we're not having to put ourselves at risk?
Sure. You know, so the first one is, and you know, you never think about it, but, you know, Amazon allows you to pick the time and the date when the package is delivered. You know, now, you know, most people just go quick, you know, what's the quickest one I can possibly pick? But, you know, you can pick a day and a time that you're home. And that makes it a lot less likely that the package gets stolen. Or you can even pick secure locations. They have Amazon lockers and things like that. So you know if that jewelry or that expensive item's coming in, you could pick a locker, make sure you get it, so you make sure it doesn't get stolen. Then the obvious ones are, ring cameras, bright lights, porch lights, things like that are also obvious. And then there's preventative measures, which seem extremely boring, but reporting these crimes can be very, very helpful for the future. If you report these crimes, it's much more likely that, say, your apartment complex or your homeowners association or your local constable can increase patrols and increase security in your area if there's a prevalence of these types of crimes. And then in addition, most folks think, okay, you're never going to catch one of these guys taking something off your porch, or even if you do catch them, what's the crime for, stealing an $18 package off my porch? If you report these folks and they're in an organized group, the punishments can be escalated and much more severe for these organized groups. Georgia even has its own state RICO Act that can severely punish these organized rings that are engaged in this type of activity.
Okay, so that's a very important step. If this happens to you, take the step to make sure that you report it. Kirk, I'm so glad that you mentioned that for us. But hopefully we won't find ourselves in need of needing to do this because our packages got stolen. But now we know what to do in case we do. Kirk Evans, CEO of U.S. Law Shield. Kirk, it's good to see you. And thank you so much again for the help today. We appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. Let's take a look at a few of the big sports stories that we are following for you today. Federal investigators are now involved in figuring out what reality TV star Portia Williams of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, whether she's going to be facing any charges. Okay, the sports stories are coming, I promise. But first, let's take a look at this one. So she was reportedly involved in some kind of situation, we're told, on board a Delta flight from Las Vegas to Atlanta. Right now, we don't know exactly what happened yet, but there's video that TMZ was able to obtain of her being walked off of the flight after she landed here in Atlanta by police officers who were at the airport. So FBI Atlanta Bureau is saying they are aware of this. They haven't determined, though, whether she should face any charges. But this is a story you're likely to see no matter where you log on. It's got a lot of people talking. And again, the question up in the air, will federal charges be filed for whatever it was that happened on that Delta flight? So we are keeping a close eye on that. Okay, now let's get to a few of the sports stories that we have our eyes on today. The Falcons fought tooth and nail. If you were watching that game on Sunday against the Carolina Panthers, they fell short. It was a close one. It was tough to watch. Certainly did not make it out unscathed. Star quarterback Michael Penix Jr. taken out of the game in the third quarter with a knee injury. So we're hearing now that injury could keep him from playing in the next couple of games. In fact, we did get news of that. But Coach Raheem Morris says he's not throwing in the towel without getting a second opinion first. Penix, though, is really no stranger to knee injuries. This has happened to him before. In fact, in college, he had 4 season-ending injuries, including torn ACLs in 2018 and 2020. And then remember, earlier this year, he had to miss a game with a bone bruise in that same left knee that he re-injured on Sunday. So we do know Kirk Cousins is set to take over as the starting quarterback. So some interesting news coming from the Falcons. But if Penix being out wasn't bad enough, Falcons star receiver Drake London is out this week with a knee injury as well. So London left Sunday's game in overtime with some kind of sprain, we're told. And just yesterday, Coach Morris held his weekly press conference. So you better believe he got asked quite a few questions about both of these injuries and just the plan for the future when it comes to the Falcons. So let's listen to that.
All right. Obviously a tough loss yesterday. Obviously the big injury news that's come out today, Michael will go to IR. Don't have any further information on some of those type of things, but just putting out that he'll go to IR, so that'll be at least a 4-week deal. If anything comes up after that, obviously got some second opinions. There'll be a bunch of different things that has to go on over the next couple of course of the days and figure out what else that is. And we do got some good news coming back with obviously Divine coming back and some of those other guys from last week. But Drake, another big one from yesterday. He'll be probably week to week and how that thing looked. So we'll kind of figure that out. It's kind of the presence we kind of use when we don't know. But we'll see. You never know. Drake can come back tomorrow and feel a lot better, but we'll get a feel for how that goes, and he'll be a week-to-week guy. That's probably the major ones you want to talk about.
Yeah, Coach, could you elaborate on Michael's injury and the transition that you all have to make at the position?
Really can't elaborate on the injury because don't know much more than what I just said about him going down, getting a second opinion, doing those type of things. But definitely the transition to be going to Kirk, getting a chance to get Kirk out there as a starting quarterback. He'll go through all the rotations this week. He'll go through everything that we need to get done in order for him to go out there and, get a win for the football team and for us. And that's what the transition will be to Kirk.
Is he getting a second opinion on possibly a partially torn ACL? Is that what the second opinion is on? Can you confirm that?
I don't want to say that, because that's just not my place to say yet. I want those guys to get a chance to look at it and see it, go look in it and get all the details about it, give them an opportunity to do it. And definitely when I find out, I'll update it. If you're not trying to hide anything from you guys, but I want to make sure before we actually confirm anything about your quarterback.
Diablo is returning, or
Diablo will be back this week. Get a chance to open up the window and get a chance to go.
Is there a concern that Mike could be gone for the rest of the season?
There's always concern. Anytime you put anybody on IR, with all our guys, there's always a concern about that. Hurting for the young man, especially how well he's playing at the beginning of that football game. Really finding his groove. I like this week of preparation. I like the way he went through everything. I like how he was prepared at a very high level. I like how he took a lot of ownership on it last week, and really was ready to have a bounce-back week. And it's just it's heartbreaking for him to go out and get hurt. And there's always a concern of any of those type of things of missing time.
And I just want to confirm, so you say Diablo's back, so are you saying he's going to be playing on Sunday, or just that you're opening his 21-day window?
We'll definitely open the window, and assuming everything goes well, he should be back playing.
Can you clarify?
I just heard Falcons head coach there's Raheem Morris talking about what's to come, not giving us too much information. It looks like time will tell, and we'll learn a little bit more about Michael Penix Jr.'s injury. So no doubt that's something a lot of folks have their eyes on today. Something else you might have heard a lot of conversation about, and that is trades. They're all the rage. We're hearing more and more about it. So we're going to meet the next generation of trade workers in just a few minutes. So welcome back, folks. Well, Construction Ready is all about hands-on experience, and that's exactly what students have been able to do for the last several weeks. They've had an opportunity to try their hand at different skilled trades. So joining us this morning, we have our Chris Rosenthal to talk about what that training entails and about a job fair that's happening today. Hey, Chris.
Hey, good morning, Elise. You know, skilled trades, we hear so much about them. You know, trades like plumbing and electrical and construction trades. There really is a shortage for those jobs and for those roles, you know, on the construction site. And so that's why it's so important to have programs like the Construction Ready program, which helps train some of these students to get ready for the construction trades. And they've been working with this class. I'm going to actually flip this camera around here and show you. They've been working with this class for about 20 days now, for about a month or so. All these students here, they are the ones in the fluorescent shirts. This is the 50th class they've had, actually, and they've been doing this for about 10 years. These are actually from most of these students are from the Vine City, English Avenue area, and today they're having actually a job fair, a career fair, getting to meet with about 17 different companies to talk about you know, their resumes and you know, hopefully walk out of here with a job. And I'm joined now. This is actually Vita White here. She is with Construction Ready. And Vita, you can come this way, and we can let's talk a little bit about you know, the skilled trades. They're so important. Why? Talk to me about the shortage and the need.
The shortage for construction is we need laborers, we need everyone, skilled trades, and we want them to be trained and earn these credentials so they can go out here and build all of the commercial building, residential, our streets. As you can see in Atlanta, we have a lot of construction going on, and we need people to fill those jobs.
You got about 30 or so students here, and I understand that there's a pretty big project that they could become part of.
Oh yeah, so we have the Centennial Yards project. Some people reference it as the GOACH, but yes, that project is coming up and building right across the street from the Mercedes-Benz Stadium where we started. That's where Construction Ready started training adults to come into the construction industry, and most of them are still in the industry, whether they are superintendents, on their own businesses. So we're very proud of all of our graduates.
What yeah, I mean, talk to me about the history of Construction Ready and you know, the history of the students, what they've gone on to do.
We started back in 1993 in the K-12 space. So we've been doing this for a while in the schools. When Arthur Blank wanted to build the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, he met with our president and CEO, Scott Shelar, and just kind of vision cast what he wanted. Scott, along with 30 other construction owners, came together with a 20-day training program where students will earn 8 credentials that's national recognized. So we have students working all over the world that started right here on the west side of Atlanta training, and now they're out there doing great things.
And that training, I mean, this is, we can walk over here so I can get a good look at these students here, but I mean, that training, what do they get? What do they get out of this program? What will they walk away with when they graduate?
They will walk away with 8 credentials. The most valuable 2 credentials is the NCCER, which is the modules that they learn in this program, and also the flagger certification. So, you know, the flaggers are out here on the streets and construction zone, making sure no one gets hurt and directing traffic. So that's just 2 of the 8 credentials that they get. They get CPR, and we also have Construction Ready Plus. Once our students graduate, go to work for 90 days, they earn their OSHA 30 and crew leadership.
And what sort of jobs, you know, await them with these with this sort of training?
So we have carpentry. We have general contractors who hire from our program. We have some of our students who go through the electrical apprenticeship, plumbing. highway construction, anything that has to do with building is our employer partners who come to our hiring fair to hire for their company.
And these are a lot of entry-level jobs, but they can lead to bigger roles down the road, huh?
Yes, some of these students come with transferable skills and they don't know that they have them. And once they go through the training, they realize, oh, I know how to do this. So that's the exciting part about it for students.
Graduation, special graduation coming up Friday, huh?
Yes, this is the 50th class that we're graduating from Westside, and we're all excited. We're going to have that graduation at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Friday.
And so, you think most of these will come through with the job? I mean, what's the rate?
Our placement is 96% placement, but we have close to 19 employers here today. We're very, very, very hopeful and that they'll all get jobs.
Vita White with Construction Ready. Again, these students, many of them may end up working on the Centennial Yards project over by the Gulch. That's, right in their neighborhood. From Vine City and English Avenue area.
Yeah, we need them. It sounds like a great opportunity and experience for them and getting some hands-on experience in the trade. So, Chris, thank you so much for that look. We appreciate it. All right, let's take one more look out at Washington. My goodness, it's a busy day in Washington. You see the nation's capital right here. So again, if you were joining us earlier, you saw the president welcoming Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman today at the White House. Also, House lawmakers set to vote on a bill ordering the release of all files related to the case of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. So when that vote is taken, when the results are there, we will be sure to fill you in. But in the meantime, thanks so much for being with us on this Tuesday. We hope you have a great day.
Today, the House will vote on releasing the Jeffrey Epstein files. You'll hear from Northwest Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene as President Trump now says he will sign the bill. And a robbery attempt leads to a death.